Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night to anybody who's out there. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is episode 2 of my series that I am podcasting called Bamboozled. And it is the journey through and out of narcissistic abuse. And what I believe I'm in a narcissistically abusive situation. So, thank you. And I'm just going to dive right in and just kind of a recap of my first episode of Bamboozled. I talked about meeting the man of my dreams, the big, beefy, handsome, chocolate man who appeared to have it all together. And he instead brought the storms in the weather. Okay? But pretty much I left off talking about how, it was fast and furious, and he moved in to my home with me and my older daughter and made himself appear to be the most wonderful person in the whole world. But like I said before, little chips, little morsels of the true nature started to peel away and, expose itself into my world. So he was behaving a certain way. He was isolating himself. It was literally like one day he's all over me all the time. We're talking, we're jamming. Literally, he's sleep and wake up. Next day, he's in the basement alone. And just not interacting with anybody. So I was like, okay, yeah, no, let's bring some talks. The last straw for me, after him not getting my child anything for her birthday and not seeing anything wrong with that, after him telling me that he was choosing me and told the woman that he was living with that, this is what was going on. And, it was an emotional conversation, but it happened. All of these deceptions and lies he was providing to me. So just a little backtrack as to what was going on in the short amount of time that he lived with me. I ended up speaking to the lady that he was living with. Oh, and did we ever have quite the exchange of conversations. And when me and her spoke, first of all, I heard it through the grapevine that she was looking to talk to me. And he had already kind of nestled into my home, but the stuff was still very fresh, okay? And remember, I'm pregnant at this point in time. And he told me that, we were going to be a family and it's time to make the house a home. Yeah, right. Whew. So anyways, even though I was going through with having him live here, I wanted to believe him. I wanted to make things work. I thought that it was the right thing, but there was still that little buzz in the back of my mind, like, yo, this shit is going way too fast. Like, and I was just honest about it. You know what I mean? When I noticed certain behaviors arising, I was like, listen, this isn't the most ideal situation. Let's separate. You live in your own place. You know what I mean? We're going to work together as a team. Let's be best friends and let's just get to know each other. You know what I mean? And he appeared to be cool with it. But looking back deep down, that's the same shit that he always threw back in my face. Like, almost an excuse of his behaviors and his choices. And I'm going to get into it because the things I went through, especially during the pregnancy, and even more so after the baby came, up until the night before my scheduled cesarean, this man just showed his alter ego, and it was Damien in the flesh. I'm talking Lucifer in big, beefy, beautiful black man disguise. So he acted like he was down. He agreed that it was a good idea. He said he was going to start looking for a place. Now, at this time, he was also training to become a truck driver. One of those courses where, they give you the training and then you get a job with them. So he was training for that. And once he got the job, he'd be away for a week at a time and come back on the weekends. And he'd come back to my place. So I remember one weekend, he called me and he was supposed to come home that day. And he said that him and some of the fellas were at a bar and they met a group of women. And, the women were inviting them back to their hotel room. And, he's going on and on and on about how this one chick was just, mesmerized by him and was pretty much throwing the punani in his face. And so he said, I'm feeling kind of naughty tonight. I'm feeling kind of naughty. And I am just like in this like state of like, oh my fucking God. Like, who says that? Who does that? You know what I mean? And this is before we had I had the conversation with him about moving out and getting his own place. So we were still like kind of living together or whatever. And we were still intimate. We were still exchanging. Whenever he was away, we would be texting and sexting and flirting. But it was when he was back that I started noticing, certain things. So yeah, he's like, I'm feeling really naughty and I'm kind of asking for your permission to misbehave. Wow. Okay. As a woman, it was a fucking punch in the fucking face. Okay. And I was just like, well, you're grown. You know what I mean? If that's what you want to do, I mean, go ahead and do it. Long story short, it was all false. He ended up showing up at home like a few moments later. And of course, I was just overwhelmed with relief that, quote unquote, he was just joking to see what I would say. And I was just like, oh my gosh. But then what happens? Somehow we make love, and I have this huge appreciation that what he was saying wasn't true, and I was caught up. But really, that is a sinister joke to play on somebody. The whole shit's new. It's still kind of wobbly. You know what I mean? And now you want to ask for permission to be with this other woman. Like, it was very confusing to me. But that was also an incident that contributed to my intuition telling me, yo, something is not 100% right here. And when your belly talks to you, listen to the belly. Listen to the belly. It knows what it's feeling. That incident also created like an eggshell walking on experience for me. There was this fear that he would want to be with somebody else, and maybe he wasn't attracted to me because I was getting pregnant, and it was his first child and his first experience with it. So, all these different things are running through my head. So I was like, oh my goodness, I just want to show him my appreciation. I remember getting really dressed up, really sexy, and just, entering into the pleasure exchange with him. I felt like our fire was so third degree level that whatever happened, like the sex was just almost a confirmation of how real the shit appeared. But was I ever bamboozled? I'm sorry, I'm getting a call here and I'm in my zone. So anywho, let me go back to the conversations I had with the woman that my narcissist was living with and who he claimed to have been telling the truth. So, I hear that she was looking to talk to me. So, I hollered at her and said, hey, I heard you're looking to talk to me. And she was like, yo, I want to know why you think it's okay to be with somebody else's man. So I said, I was under the impression that this person was done with that relationship and that we were moving forward and that you knew everything. Lord of mercy. Did we ever chit-chat? We had quite the chit-chat, and she disclosed to me a whole other side of the story. And I believed her. But at the same time, I was in this reality of like, okay, he just moved in here, like I'm pregnant, he connects with my daughter, or that's what he presented himself to be doing. But in the end, he just ended up completely dissing my whole entire family and my whole entire household because none of it was real. So I spoke to her. She told me about how, she asked him several times if he had something going on. And he denied it every time. She said, especially when they were in their vacation, she noticed how much he was on the phone and how much he was texting and all these other things. And she kept on asking him. And she said that they were still intimate. She said that she brought him down there to meet her family because these people were supposed to get married. I was like, oh my God. Whew. Drama. Surprise. So they were supposed to meet her family in the islands. She paid for the trip. She said all the clothes the man wears, she paid for it. She said he was living at her house rent-free. She said that she found his tablet and went through it and saw messages between me and him. And she kicked his ass out. So at the same time, she was asking me if it was true, if I was pregnant, and if he was living with me, and she wanted to know, and da da da. And at the time, I just did not want to confirm anything. I wasn't ready. I didn't know how to deal with this shit. It was a lot of shit. So, what did I do? I talked to him about it. And I said, yo, I spoke to so-and-so. You know what I mean? Because there was a lot of drama going on with this other woman. She was talking my name. She was, I'm hearing from this person and that person. Oh, I heard that blah, 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 blah. So I was the one that suffered a lot of the consequence for what I was led to believe a finished relationship. So I was like, yo, okay. I talked to her and she told me, bop, 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 bop. What did he say? Listen, block her. Of course she's going to say those things. Of course she's going to tell you do. But at the end of the day, I'm here. I want to be with you. And if you want fit, listen to people's shit, that's on you. But me, I ain't listening to, I ain't paying attention to that shit. Okay. And so we kept on moving forward. But at the same time, I was like, I don't know about this, man. I don't know about this. It's new. It's a lot of drama. This man was a few years, 4 years younger than me. So I'm like, maybe, you know what I mean? Maybe he's not even thinking straight right now. I don't know what he's doing. But he seemed adamant that we were going to work it together. But unfortunately, guess what? His behavior was showing me something different. And deep down in my belly, I knew this girl was telling the truth. I believed her. I didn't see any reason for her to make what she was saying up. The day that he got all of his stuff, I remember he was there all day. He came back with blood red eyes. I guess him and her mom and her all got into it. But she told me they had sex that day. She told me that he said that he cheated one time and that's all it was. You know what I mean? And she told me that she kicked him out of the house for cheating. So that was a huge red flag. Huge. But I mean, golly, when I tell you, tangled in the web, web of lies and deception. But that was still only the beginning. Remember, I gave birth to this psychopath's baby. I can only describe it as a psychopath. Well, really, it's a narcissist, but it's what I believe a narcissist is. But the things that I experienced with this dude were just, it wasn't normal. It was like I was dealing, I even thought that somebody put some kind of spirit on him. Somebody walk some obia pani. Because the way this man started to behave, the attitude that started coming from this man, I had to almost excuse it as something from another level spiritually. So anyways, I'm going to get into all of that. So what happens now? He's still here. He's dropping seeds of fuckery. And I started having some conversations with him. I let him know, listen, I don't think this shit's going to work out. You know what I mean? I didn't even say it like that. I was just like, I think it's better if you take that time. You make sure you know what you're doing as an individual. You know what I mean? Give him that opportunity to grow the fuck up and really recognize what the hell he's doing, how he's behaving, and what type of model he wants to be as a man and as a person. And I said, yo, I think that you need to, get your own place. Let's work together. Let's grow and let's build a strong foundation for my daughter and this upcoming baby. He was cool with it. So he's like, yeah, I'm going to try to find a place, right? So we probably had the conversation, let's say, in the end of October. By December 1st, he found a place. Now, before he moved, okay, you have to now remember, let's go back, him telling me that there was a possibility that this woman was pregnant. So when me and her spoke, she heard that I was pregnant, and I also heard from him that she was pregnant, or there was, and with that as well, like he kind of dropped the bomb on me a month after I told him that I was pregnant for his child. After he had told me that there was no sex going on, and me, like a jackass, believed him. I'm not beating myself up. I'm just saying, come on, Kimmy. I had to go through this to wake up. Well, I sure as fuck am awake now. Oh, my Lord. Get Out, the movie, ain't got nothing on this shit. So, anyways. Sorry. My throat. So there was still this lingering question of, is she pregnant? And this is even before he moved in with me, sorry. Is she pregnant? Is she not pregnant? So anytime I'd bring it up to him, he'd be like, oh no, I really don't think she's pregnant. She has these medical issues, whatever. Woo, woo, woo. I'm like, okay, but what is she saying? Like you need to come out with some kind of truths up in this. And he was just like, nah, she's not pregnant. Don't even worry about it. Like it was nothing. And I remember having a conversation with him and saying, because I was the mistress to her relationship, I wouldn't feel comfortable sending our baby over there because she's very angry about the situation. She's hurt. And I don't think it would be the right time, And he's like, listen, it's not going to happen. I'm not going back there. She's not having a baby. We're going to have the baby. And if anything, I'm not interested in any type of relationship. If the baby is going to be with me, the baby's going to be with me. And I said, well, let's agree to something. Let's agree that if and by chance things don't work out, especially for the first 5 years, the baby will get to if the significant other person, like if him or I ended up being in a relationship with somebody else, out of respect and out of just common courtesy, the other parent would meet the other individual before they met the kids, right? It seemed like a reasonable agreement. He agreed to it. And he also stated that, you know what I mean? He wasn't interested. It's his first time being a father. This is where his focus is going to be. You know what I mean? We're going to build our foundation. But in the chance that we're going to be meeting anybody else, we should meet the significant other's partner before the significant other's partner meets our child. But, he said that it wasn't a priority for him and it wasn't something he was looking to do. Okay, cool. Another thing that we agreed on is to always work together as a team and to never go to court. Okay? His income was kind of wonky at that time. And I said, I only know how to follow through with things without the father's information on the birth certificate. And it was the truth. I didn't know how to follow through with stuff. I wasn't too sure how that would affect it. And I said, just in case of anything, I know I would get my baby bonus and I wouldn't have to rely on you. I guess there was a part of me that figured that if his name was on the birth certificate, maybe he would be responsible for child support or something. I don't know. But it didn't come from a bad place. So we agreed that we would leave his name off the birth certificate. He'd always be involved with the baby. I'd still let him know everything and stuff like that. We agreed to that. We also agreed to the baby having my last name. I was like, listen, we're not married. You know what I mean? He wanted to put a name in there. I put a name in there. So my child has like 4 different names. But for me, it didn't feel right having her have a different last name from my other daughter. And also we were not married. So that was my mentality. I shared that with him. He said he understood. Everything was fine. She was going to have my last name. So that's something you could change later on in life. You know what I mean? But for now, for everybody's well-being, and that she was going to live with me. We agreed to these things. He agreed to these things. Every single thing that we agreed to, this man brought to the table. Every single thing. Okay? And personally, I even remember saying, listen, when I was telling him about the first woman, I was like, listen, I just don't want no ghetto twins up in here. I remember having this conversation with him. Next thing you know, so-and-so might be pregnant. I'm like, oh my God, the one thing I ask? That is what you're bringing to me now? Like, really? The one thing. So that didn't deter me though. I kept going with this dude. I kept moving forward. I wasn't disrespectful to the woman. I didn't bring no drama. When he was in his little, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, purgatory, I didn't put no pressure, but I was firm. Listen, you do have to make a decision. And I was under the impression that he made that decision until I got the real memo from the woman about what was really going on. So all this information I have in the back of my head. I finally come to him. I'm like, after certain behaviors, it's like, yo, you got to go. Woo, 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 woo. December, he finds his place, moves in. I even went over there a couple of times. Maybe around mid-December, he started being distant. So up until this point, we were still very intimate. We were still very chatty. He moved out. I was supporting him, letting him know how proud I was. He'd been living with other people for a very long time, and I'm all encouraging his individuality and stuff like that, and even commenting on how much more I appreciate the relationship and the sex without being under the same roof, thinking in my mind as I was being bamboozled that we're on the same page. And he sure let me know that we were not. So the shit started to really go downhill after Christmas time. So I had noticed that he had started getting kind of distant with me again. We weren't talking as often. So I hollered and I asked him, Wagwan. And I remember him messaging me. And this was about a couple days before one of my ultrasounds. So this was happening in mid-December, and I was due the end of February. So I was fairly far along in my pregnancy. And for the majority of my pregnancy, besides the couple of things that I had described, he was right there. He came to my first he came to my first doctor's appointment. He was there with me, my mom, my older daughter. Everything was cool beans. And we would exchange so much. We would talk so much. I was really under the impression that we were bonding. and that it was going to work out and we were going to stick together, you know? Mind you, at that time as well, when he had moved in, he spoke to I spoke to his mom. He put me on the phone with his mom. And the mom was really upset about what everybody was saying about him, especially the woman that he had just left. And she's like, I don't understand why 1 minute people are so, loving to my son. And then the next minute, my son is the worst person in the world and woo, woo, woo. And me, I'm just like, oh, don't worry. I got your back. I got his back. It's all going to work out. It's all going to cool down, being all hopeful and supportive and all that bullshit that was just flushed down the toilet with every other attempt I had at supporting this man, especially for his first child and trying to do the right thing for the upcoming baby. So that's just another little side note. Now, fast forwarding back to December, I started noticing that once again he started getting distant. I asked him straight up, what's going on? He said that he was talking to a woman in St. Lucia, and he's in a long distance relationship. I was like, what? And he's like, yeah, it's somebody I knew years ago. We ran into each other and we just started to talk. And now we've realized that we have more feelings for each other. And she knows that, me and you are sleeping together. And because she's been pregnant before, she also has a young daughter. She knows that, pregnant women need sex and they like sex. So she's okay with us having sex. And that's what I'm doing. So I was like, wow. Is that so? So I was like, okay, well, that's kind of messed up. I'm having your baby in a couple of months. You pretty much just finished busting all your nuts inside of me. And now you're in a long distance relationship. Wow. And then he said how, this woman really likes him and she was offering to pay for the furniture in his place and a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, okay, that's pretty fucked up. And I remember going to the doctor and my blood pressure had risen significantly. Because now it's like, well, fuck, what do you mean you're in a long distance relationship with a woman in St. Lucia? You just left a relationship 2 minutes ago. You just got into one with me 1 minute ago. You got out of my house 30 seconds ago. And now all of a sudden you're in a fucking long distance relationship with somebody in St. Lucia? What? The fuck are you talking about? And regardless of whatever the hell you're doing, what does this mean for our baby? Just remember what we said. Just remember what we agreed to. And how is it that I'm getting permission by this other mystery woman that plopped out of nowhere to have sex with the man who I'm having a child with? How does that happen? So I'm going to wrap up there for today, for episode 2 of Bamboozled, but it has been quite the experience. And I just want to share my story and share, first of all, the history of how I feel I got bamboozled into a relationship with a narcissist. And also how I plan, or how I am getting the fuck out of this messy shit. So This was episode 2 of Bamboozled. I still don't know what I'm calling my podcast, but thank you so much for tuning in. It is a wild story. Please do stay tuned. I can't wait to share another morsel. And thank you out there for supporting this podcast. And anybody else out there that's going through these things, just know that it is a process and you are not alone. And there's a lot of really great information that I've come across that has really helped me that I'd love to share. I'm just getting started, but I will be sharing some of the things and some of the YouTubers and some of the blogs that have really educated me on this experience with narcissistic personality disorder, I believe, or pretty much, toxic people and toxic relationships. And not only is it great to inform yourself and have awareness of situations, but it's also so important to focus on the healing and getting out. And I'm in that getting out stage with my narcissist right now. So yeah, that's going to be it for episode 2. Please stay tuned. Please do take it easy, but still take it. And take a little bit for me. Enjoy your day, enjoy your week, enjoy your month, and enjoy your life. And just know that you are worth it. And I'm also getting the memo that I am worth it. And nobody deserves this shit. And I'm getting the fuck out. Peace.